I met a character who is this one, Rolando Pelizza, October 2022. I believe that Rolando Pelizza is one of the purest men I have ever known, a gigantic mind and a loving, innocent, passionate child's heart. Unfortunately, we did not spend much time together because he died after a few months. From his youth, Rolando Pelizza collaborated with Ettore Majorana, the great scientist from Catania, who disappeared in 1928, a great mind who retired because he didn't want to take part in the development of nuclear power. In fact, Majorana said, "This will be the terrible legacy we'll leave to humanity." So he distanced himself from the Via Panisperna group, where he was the most brilliant mind of all among Segreva, Maldi, Fermi. Even Enrico Fermi himself said of Majorana that there are geniuses and there are those who go beyond genius, and Majorana was one of them. And what did Majorana do when he took refuge in a convent in Calabria, in Serra San Bruno? He met the young Rolando Pelizza, and with the new physics and the new mathematics that Majorana developed, they built a fabulous machine. The whole story remained hidden. I found out about it in the 1990s from an engineer who was involved in experiments of the machine. But I didn't believe him because he was talking to me about disintegration, about antimatter, about the creation of energy from nothing, about the mutation of the material structure. I told him, "You are telling me nonsense," but it was true because he was part of, let's say, Rolando's group. The story was uncovered in December 21 because Majorana wrote a letter to Pelizza, authorizing him to spread the truth. "From now on, if you see fit, you are free to use my name to distribute our reports, writings, and photographs." So here is a photo of Ettore Majorana on 5 August 1996. I think it was his birthday. There is a problem with this photo. He is 90 years old. 90 years old, and Rolando is 58. This is the machine, obviously just the form. This machine has been called the God machine because it does things that look like miracles. When Pelizza talked about the scientist Zichichi, a scientist, so to speak, Zichichi was scandalized. He said it's not possible. So when a scientist says it's not possible, he ceases to be a scientist and becomes a dogmatist. This machine could decompose matter without producing pollutants. So you could decompose all the rubbish on the planet, all the plastic in the oceans, without producing pollution. That is, it's like saying that the power station that produces the energy that we have could be run on rubbish. But nothing was done with it. Think how beautiful it was. The machine could heat a metal and keep it at the temperature forever. So you could heat, instead of baking bars of radioactive material, steel bars, bring them to 800 degrees, and they stay at 800 degrees forever. You could generate energy for free and without pollution. Then the machine could transmute matter, change matter from one thing to another. There is a video on YouTube where Rolando transforms a pallet of foam rubber cubes into 100% pure gold, which does not exist in nature. The fourth phase is even more miraculous: the translation of matter and the re-entry from another dimension, the rejuvenation effect of biological bodies. In other words, we would also defeat old age. The machine has been proposed to the Italian government since Andreotti's time. Even the files appeared on WikiLeaks thanks to Assange. Martinazzoli was involved. An important figure in the army who was also a great Freemason was involved. Was the Dutch government involved, Piero, or the Belgian government? The Belgian government was involved, NATO was involved, America was involved. Henry Kissinger, President Ford, they just wanted it as a weapon. They didn't care that it could give free energy, make pollution disappear. Nothing. And above all, it could heal the planet because with the transmutation the machine could convert CO2 into ozone and close the ozone hole. When I talk about the future, the letter from Ettore Majorana of 20 December 2000 that he wrote to Professor Erasmo Recami, the president of the CNEN, who did the energy calculations of the machine, and he was astounded because the machine needs the battery of a car to be powered and can generate billions of megawatts with 24 volts. But it could heal the planet. When I talk about the future of our world, I'm referring to global warming, something I predicted back in 1976 when I gave Rolando a detailed report on the subject and its consequences. From the first symptoms at the beginning of 2000 to the intensification of the problem from 2010. As a result, we can expect real environmental disasters. Now, 2010 is long gone, because Rolando, whose cars I believe that they have confiscated many, dozens of them, each machine would cost around 90,000 euros at today's exchange rate. They were always confiscated by the Star and Strip Intelligence Service with the collaboration of that tribe. He managed to hide a machine that he used by remote control from Italy, but the car was in Spain, and in the months that he managed to have the machine, he managed to close the hole in the ozone layer. The powerful people knew that Rolando could do it, so they started a hunt until they found it and took it away from him. Then there was a guy called Oscar Valente who built one, but they confiscated that too. So what about the hole in the ozone layer? It is huge. This is its maximum size in September 2006. The solar radiation, which already arrives in abnormal quantities, for the species that I have shown you, arrives much more because it is not shielded by the ozone layer, which has precisely this function. So the amount of heat that the planet receives is much greater, causing a much more rapid increase in the imbalances that will generate crazy catastrophes. Here in this room is Piero Maravalli. Piero, please stand up for a moment. Piero Maravalli was one of Rolando's close collaborators. I interviewed him on 11 November 2022 about the whole affair. The interview went well. I think the first part is reaching 200,000 views. Here, I leave it to Piero's words to explain what Ettore Majorana predicted. Ettore Majorana wrote very clearly that if nothing is done from the year 2000, irreversible changes will be measurable. From 2010, they will be visible at the level of ordinary people. Events, catastrophic climatic phenomena out of the normality. But if nothing is done from 2022 to 2024, due to depletion of the ozone layer and the corresponding increase in the amount of radiation, I said that Majorana predicted 2010. But thanks to this work of closing the hole in the ozone layer, Rolando bought us a few years, so thanks to Rolando the climate was still bearable. But since human activities have continued to produce pollutants that cause the depletion of the ozone layer, we are back to square one. We have only gained a little time. In fact, Rolando said, "Will you lend me a hand to heal the planet?" They didn't give it to him. And so now we are in the phase that I said at the beginning. It has begun. In the 18,000 meters at atmosphere, two phenomena occur. On the one hand, the greater amount of radiation brings to the Earth an availability of heat that will continue to feed the increase in temperature, no matter what you do. And the other is that the radiation that is shielded today, when it arrives in the other layer of the atmosphere where the water is present, where the formation of nucleuses take place, that they condense the water and make it fall in drops, these qualitative and quantitative changes will lead to the formation and then to precipitation of a quantity of water equal to 250 cubic centimeters. A glass per drop instead of a drop, 250. Where this phenomenon occurs, it is a controllable deluge. The amount of heat that will accumulate on the surface will give such energy to the cyclones that the winds will reach 400 and even 600 kilometers per hour at those wind speeds. Where they pass through, not even the vegetable soil will remain in place. Clear. So at that point, with these cataclysms that happen where the Almighty decides, and not they, what happens to the populations that survives in an environment that is no longer habitable? What do you stop them with? With machine guns? That is what will happen. Then a process of displacements and tensions will be triggered that will be difficult to control. So we will be heading towards disaster, and the only tool is the machine. But to use the machine, you need a humanity that deserves it, a humanity that corresponds to those values that Ettore Majorana had already codified in '62.